You're listening to KEXP, where the music matters. You can find us at 90.3 FM in Seattle, 92.7 FM in the Bay Area, streaming worldwide at kexp.org, and also on the free KEXP mobile app. I'm Cheryl Waters. I'm here in the KEXP studios and very, very excited to welcome C. Lemon.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
A new album, Diving for a Prize. I am so excited that you're here to play these songs today. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. It's C. Lemon live on KEXP.
Thank you.
Wanna be there, I won't respond right.
You're listening to C. Lemon live on KEXP, sharing songs from their debut full-length album, Diving for a Prize.
Thanks for having us.
So good, so good. That is C. Lemon live on KEXP, songs from the new album, Diving for a Prize. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Congratulations on the release of the new record, Diving for a Prize. As someone who has followed your solo career, I feel like pretty much since the beginning, it is something I've been eagerly anticipating. And you released an EP in 2022 and 2023. And what was it like to express yourself creatively in a full-length record?
Yeah, I feel like having the opportunity to make a full length gave me more flexibility to try out sounds that I hadn't gone for more in the past, like more of a true shoegaze sound, but also more of kind of like synthier elements inspired by air. And so I feel like this album, I kind of just gave myself the ability to just try things I hadn't done before, which was so exciting and so fun.
I feel like you have kind of gone from a little bit of a lo-fi sound to a bigger sound, and you've always had kind of a pop meets shoegaze thing, but I feel like you lean even more into shoegaze, sort of the farther. I feel like you even went more and more from the first EP to the second EP. Is that sort of an evolution that you feel as well?
Yeah, totally. I think that I just find myself so drawn to like the sounds of My Bloody Valentine and like true shoegaze elements. And I really wanted to have this album feel like stepping out, making a bigger sound, like feeling like I was more equipped to write music that not only is just like melodically something that I'm more excited about, but also just like production wise, I felt like was lusher and fuller. And I think that it was so fun to just kind of like step forward and be like, what would it feel like to play these songs in like a bigger space and fill out that space with a bigger sound?
You're drawn to the dark side.
I'm drawn to the dark side. It's so true.
Well, speaking of melody, I hear melody before lyrics.
Yeah.
A lot of people hone right in on lyrics, but I recently read that you write short stories in your spare time, and that totally makes sense to me when I think of your lyrics. Your songs are like short stories, but I find it interesting that you're such a storyteller, both inside and outside of your music, but that you say that you focus on melody first, which makes me wonder what your songwriting process looks like.
Yeah, I always start with melody first, and I'll like hum something. I do the same thing as Paul McCartney does in that Beatles documentary where he sings Scrambled Eggs, and then that turns into Yesterday. I do the same thing. I'm like hearing a melody, I'm hearing what kind of like the general gist of the words would be, and then I fill in with like the words that feel right, and then I turn that into like, okay, this song is feeling like extra shoegazy, extra dark. What would be kind of like the antithesis of that? Something light, something funny, something kind of like more of a parody song. And so then I'll kind of like try to fit those two sort of like pieces together, even if there's like a strong dichotomy from like the thesis and the concept of the song and the way it sounds. And then I kind of just go from there. And I end up writing a lot of songs that aren't about my life and are more kind of short stories and short fiction, because I think that that's just like a fun way for me to express my creative side when I'm not feeling like, oh, I had something happen to me, I need to write about it right now.
And interestingly, I also read that even though you're a story writer, a short story writer, you're not necessarily a lyric journaler.
No, I'm not really a lyric journaler. I feel like I'll kind of like write observations in my phone or like in a journal. If like I see something where I'm like, oh, that's funny or that's interesting, that's compelling, I'll write something down. But I never start with like a true lyric. It's more like I start with the idea of a song and go from there.
Or a mood board.
Or a mood board, 100%.
I know that music was a big part of your life growing up in the Pacific Northwest, and it is just such a place of natural beauty with forests, mountains, and marine life. Do you think that where you lived and these surroundings affect the music that you make?
100%. I feel like it would be crazy to make shoegaze music in like a bright environment or like somewhere with a lot of sunshine. Like shoegaze just feels so right in the PNW, like the forest and the rain and kind of like the darkness and even like access to the ocean. Like I'm so inspired. Obviously, Sea Lemon is kind of a nod to the ocean and my love of it. And I feel like living here really inspires the way that I think about like writing melodies that feel kind of eerie and spooky and a little bit more on the dark side.
I love living in the Pacific Northwest, and the nature is the thing I love most about it. And I, of course, knew exactly what a sea lemon was. I love the name of the band, but do a lot of people ask you about it and not know what it is?
Yeah, some people definitely ask me about it, especially if you're not like a marine biology fan, like lover of all things sort of like ocean inspired. But sea lemon is a nudibranch or a sea slug native to the Pacific Northwest, and it's something that you can find in like a tide pool in sort of like the coast of Washington. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to name my band, I wanted to draw on things that were important to me in childhood.
I love that. Well, it seems like it's been an enjoyable journey to get where you are and that you've really pushed yourself. You said in an interview with these songs, I really wanted to find my place in the world. Do you feel like you've accomplished that?
I hope so. I mean, more than anything, I think I found my place in the world for like what that means to me. So what do I enjoy making in the world? I feel like it took me a couple years to be like, what is my sound? What do I love making? What do I like love playing on stage? And I feel like I'm at a point with my writing where I'm like, this is what I want to be making and it feels right. And that's where my like place in the world really feels like right.
Well, we're happy to be on this journey with you. Thank you all so much for bringing it to the KEXP studios today.
Thank you so much for having us.
A huge thank you to Sea Lemon and a huge thank you to all of you as well. We appreciate you being a part of KEXP. Once again, you can support us anytime with a gift at kexp.org and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll let you know every time we launch a new video. Once again, a big thank you to Sea Lemon. Live on KEXP.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.